Welcome to Matchpoint. Now, the Asian Games have once again ignited the debate on athlete naturalization. Some countries argue that countries such as Bahrain and Qatar have an unfair advantage in athletics, thanks to their legion of African-born runners. Ethiopian-born Mariam Yusuf Jamal, who won gold in the 1500 meters, however, begs to differ. The former world champion says winning is down to intensive training, not which country she originates from. Several oil-rich Gulf states, including Bahrain and Qatar, have achieved overnight athletic success by recruiting young, fleet-footed African athletes who are free to compete at the international level after meeting eligibility and residency requirements. Athletes, especially from Kenya and Ethiopia, often leave for Gulf states due to intense competition back home.
Bahrain, they give me a lot of opportunity, and people also, they support me from my federation, everybody, and that is why my result is coming up. And yeah, I say thank you for Bahrain also. These all people, they come from Africa or Asia. Because of training, they win. That's why. If you train hard, always you are winner. If you don't train hard, you are loser. Yeah, if you train hard, always you are champion.
We'll get back to that in just a minute. Now, 2 hours, 3 minutes and 13 seconds set by Emmanuel Mutai at this year's Berlin Marathon was the fastest losing time in marathon history. This was the second time that the former London Marathon champion has finished second with a fast losing time. In 2013, he set a personal best in Chicago when he came second to Dennis Kimeto, who is incidentally the same man who beat him last Sunday in the German capital. But the 30-year-old, who is one of Kenya's most consistent marathon runners, says he's not about to give up in his search for first place.
2 hours, 2 minutes and 57 seconds is the time of the moment in athletics. The new world record in marathon running. So fast was this time that the second-placed athlete beat the previous world record by 10 seconds. In finishing second, Emmanuel Mutai has now twice broken the record of having the fastest losing time. In Chicago last year, he came second to the now marathon record holder, Dennis Kimeto.
The difficult part for me when we are at Kimeto is between 38 and 41. So I need to see how am I going to work on that part.
Berlin was the sixth time Mutai finished second in a major city marathon from 8 races. The 30-year-old also finished second at the 2009 World Championships in Berlin, Germany.
Yeah, you know, really, I've tried so much just to win the race, but sometimes so hard. But I've never lose hope. I still have that in my mind that maybe in the future I have to make sure that I win a race.
Do you feel unlucky sometimes?
Sometimes I feel unlucky.
But luck has nothing to do with the consistency the 2011 London Marathon winner has shown over the last 6 years. Mutai attributes it to hard work. He runs approximately 250 kilometers in training every week.
For me, you know, what I am so concerned is the way I train. If it is on Monday, I have to stay in camp from Monday to Saturday. I go to home for a weekend. So that is the first priority. The second one, if I'm now decided every training I have to do twice a day, so you have to follow that program.
Mutai is already eyeing the world in Beijing next year and is hoping to run the Tokyo Marathon early in the year in order to give himself enough time to recover for the August competition.
He becomes only the second man in history to win the world title and the Olympic title.
Kenya lost the world title last year in Moscow after Abel Kirui had won it for 2 consecutive world championships. On the city marathons front, however, Kenya continues to dominate, with Kimeto becoming the 4th Kenyan since 2003 to hold a marathon world record.
Maybe the techniques of training, changing of training, because you know, sometimes maybe when you finish a race, maybe you take rest for almost 1 month. So you start, but now maybe you have to take maybe 2 or 3 weeks and then you start slowly. And also maybe because of the people want to run so fast, so there is also aggressiveness of want to achieve the best result.
Mutai wants to run even faster than 2 hours, 3 minutes. His target is now 2 hours, 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And this time he hopes he will cross the finish line fast. Celestine Karone, CCTV in Nairobi.
Now, as we mentioned earlier, the success of many athletes who have changed national allegiance at the ongoing Asia Games has brought to light the big and sometimes contentious issue of switched nationalities. The IAAF, which is the athletics governing body, of course, calls these moves officially transfers of allegiance. Now, according to the IAAF's official competition rules for 2014-2015, under Chapter 1, Rule 4, the law book says that no athlete affiliated to a national federation may be affiliated to another member without previous authorization from his national federation of origin. It goes on to say in the same chapter that if any athlete wishes to change national affiliation, the national federation or the country or territory in which the athlete is residing shall send a written request to the athlete's national federation of origin, and the national federation of origin shall then send a written request within 30 days. So who has benefited the most? Some would argue that Bahrain is one of the biggest benefactors of transfers of allegiance. Over the past decade or so, they have received 15 Kenyan runners and 7 Ethiopians making the switch. Probably one of the most prominent of these moves was that from Kenya to Qatar of Stephen Cherono, who is now known as Saif Said Shaheen. Shaheen was born in Kenya and ran for Kenya, even winning gold at the 2002 Commonwealth Games. The next year in 2003, he switched nationalities and was reported to have made up to $1 million in that move as a result. He went on to have a successful career, winning gold at consecutive World Championships in 2003 and 2005. Another Kenyan is Bernard Lagat. In 2004, he became a naturalized American citizen, having ran for his country of origin, Kenya, for 4 years between 2000 and 2004. Lagat won silver and bronze in the 1500 meters at the 2004 Athens and 2000 Sydney Olympics, respectively, before going on to win gold at World Championship and Indoor Championship level for the United States. Another is long-distance runner Tejitu Daba, who gained Bahraini citizenship in 2009. The Ethiopian-born runner clinched gold at the 2011 Kobe Asian Championships. Sometimes an athlete is naturalized before ever having competed for their nation of birth, such as Meb Keflezigi. Keflezigi and his family were naturalized to the United States after fleeing from Eritrea as refugees. He has competed largely in the marathon for the United States and even won silver for America at the Athens Olympics in 2004. Now, every once in a while, this is of course quite rare, an athlete may make the switch to a different country and later opt to return to his country of origin, such as this man, case in point, Bahrain's Mushir Salem Jauher, better known as Leonard Musheru. He is a Kenyan-born runner who focused on the longer distances, especially the 5,000 meters. He even ran for Kenya at the 2000 World Cross Country Championships before acquiring Bahraini citizenship. He ran for the Middle Eastern country for 4 years between 2004 and 2007 before eventually returning to Kenya in December 2007. Well, moving on, back in the 70s and 80s, Togo's handball team was a threat to many on the continent, but this is unfortunately no longer the case today. The sport has suffered in recent years due to neglect and poor management. Most women are also discouraged from participating in what has become a largely male-dominated sport. While football's popularity has continued to grow in recent years, Togo ranks quite poorly among the teams in Africa. Authorities, however, are optimistic of restoring the sport's lost glory and moving it forward in Togo.
In the 1970s, we had the best level of handball in West Africa, but due to lack of money and structures, the level regressed. Now we have a plan to get back our place, and this will start by training of players from childhood and the school base. And to do that, we have the support of the National Olympics Committee.
We have a lot of problems in Togo.
We have a lot of problems in Togo. We like this game. That is why we are playing. And even as we are playing, there is no support. We have no sponsor to help us enjoy the game. There is nothing for this game in Togo.
Time for a quick break here on Match Point, but coming right up. Ready for the job, JP Duminy to lead the Proteas T20 side in Australia.
terrific dunk right there.
Welcome back now to cricket, and South Africa this week announced a captaincy change with JP Duminy taking over the skipper duties for the upcoming T20 matches in Australia, while admitting that he doesn't yet have the necessary experience and that the role would definitely add pressure to his game. Duminy said that he can't wait to lead the side. Our reporter Dan Williams caught up with a batsman all-rounder in Cape Town.
Stepping into a whole new leadership role, JP Duminy becomes the latest player to take on the captaincy responsibilities for South Africa and will skipper the side for the upcoming T20 series in Australia. Although he has little experience in the job, he's relishing the prospect of leading his country.
Obviously, it's a great honour and a privilege to be announced the captain of the T20 side, and I think the only captaincy experience I have is beginning of this year. We played a North versus South game, a T20 game here in Cape Town. And that's pretty much my experience. I've captained a few school games, but like I said earlier, I mean, I believe that I've played enough cricket to know how to go about it. I've been part of a leadership group now for probably about a year, so it's great to be given the opportunity to lead from the front.
The captaincy marks a reversal in fortunes for Duminy. In 2012, on South Africa's tour to Australia, he ruptured his Achilles tendon, ruling him out of action for 6 months and putting a question mark over his international cricket future.
Back then it was all about me just coming back and trying to stake a claim within the side again, and you know, fortunate enough for me, it's been going really well over the last 2 years. And obviously now, given the mantle of captaincy, there's a little bit of added pressure to that, so hopefully I can just take it in my stride and keep performing for the Proteas.
The upcoming tour to Australia and New Zealand also includes 8 one-day internationals. The Proteas ODI side is a team beginning to grow in confidence, having won 16 of their last 22 matches. A sequence that includes wins against Australia, Sri Lanka and India.
Our expectations are pretty clear, and that is to win all series. Obviously we've been playing really good one-day cricket of late and in beating Zimbabwe and Australia in Zimbabwe, so we'll take a lot of confidence out of that going into that series. Just trying to go out there and give our best each and every game. We've played some really good one-day cricket of late, and so it's just about trying to maintain that performances.
This tour also provides perfect preparation ahead of next year's Cricket World Cup, which is also in Australia and New Zealand. And although this Proteas ODI side has a settled feel to it, the next few months provides an ideal opportunity for a player to grab the selector's attention. That prospect has been helped following the recent retirements of Graham Smith and Jacques Kallis.
It's been an opportunity for guys to stake a claim, to put up their hands. We've seen some big performances by guys that have come into the side in their shoes, and it's up to us to be positive about it and to understand that, you know, we can rely on each other as a leadership group, and it's not up to one guy to make a play.
To win a first ever World Cup remains the ultimate goal for South Africa. And the next few months will go some way to assessing the Proteas' chances. Dan Williams, CCTV, Cape Town.
Now, on a more somber note, the Confederation of African Football is calling on football clubs across the continent to ensure that they carry out proper medical checks on their players as a result of a growing number of sudden deaths in the sport. In East Africa, 2 players died in August, with another case reported in September. Questions are now being raised as to whether enough is being done in developing countries to prevent such deaths. Leon Sinyange reports.
A newly promoted side in Uganda's top football league. Rweza Football Club players go through their paces, but without their top striker. Frank Lutalo had helped this football club win promotion to the top division, but an unknown illness took the life of the budding footballer in August. his teammates remember him fondly.
He had a talent of his own. He was so talented. Even if you ask the fans, the coaches, the managers, and everybody who knew him, he was a very talented guy. He was a very good striker. He could score for us in any angle.
Uganda's football has recently been hit by a number of player deaths. As well as Lutalo, Andrew Sechimanyi also died in August while training. A third incident was reported in September when a player collapsed and died while watching a game on television. Many player deaths have been associated with sudden cardiac arrests. Dr. James Sekajugo, a medical committee member with the International Football Federation FIFA, explains that there could be more than one cause of such incidences.
Not everybody can have a sudden cardiac arrest. There must be some predisposing factors in your heart. Now, as you know, in Africa, we are not subjected to thorough medical checkups before. In normal life and also before we undertake strenuous physical activities.
Soccer and American football are the most common sports associated with sudden deaths, despite medical screening regulations being put in place to ensure player safety. In a country like Uganda, this in part is due to the laxity of teams to meet medical requirements. Even at a training session like this, there is no medical staff on hand to deal with player injuries. Most clubs here cannot afford a qualified doctor or a physio, and that puts players more at risk.
The football we are playing today is much faster. It's at a much faster pace than before. The training that athletes are undergoing is even more strenuous than before. Each national federation should be able to implement the guidelines put in place by regional sports confederations like CAF.
While the African Confederation has handed out equipment to deal with conditions like cardiac arrests, especially during matches, accessibility and expertise remains a problem. Some players are afraid to undergo tests for fear of losing their contracts and places in the team.
I think human life is the most valuable thing that anybody has. So if we want to keep our players alive, we should be able to assess the risks to their lives, and we should be able to do whatever is possible to protect them.
While players undergo intensive pre- and post-season training, their medical conditions are seemingly less of a priority than results on the field. Only until medical screening is strictly enforced, many players in developing countries will continue to play unaware of the risks they face. Leon Sanyange, CCTV, Kampala, Uganda.
Now, volleyball is gaining more and more interest on the international level, with over 35 million active players currently registered worldwide. In Africa, however, the enthusiasm of the sport is yet to match with the global number. With only a handful of African countries passionate about the sport, Togo is hoping to join in that number and make a niche for itself in volleyball. CCTV's Maria Galang tells us more.
Togo is looking to get into the world volleyball scene. With about 36 clubs and 6,000 students passionate about the sport, the potential is high.
The plans for the Togolese Volleyball Federation is to make volleyball the major sport in Togo by 2020. We know we are playing a sport that takes time to be developed. When the young people start very early and master the footwork, they have more luck in succeeding. So we aim to hold regular competitions, raise these young cadets' levels to junior, then senior. We want to develop their talent from the base.
But the main issue is the lack of financial resources and necessary equipment. But the Togolese Volleyball Federation hopes to change that.
The valuation of this sport shall begin with construction of sports infrastructure, even just one of us to have surfaces that meet international standards. We challenge authorities to give us a little money and they will see what we can do.
The last time Togo took part in the African Championships was in 1971. They finished 8th. Now they're ready to get back in the game at a continental level.
comme sont champions au niveau des dames.
Next year we'll be on the continental stage, and we hope we'll be the first for the ladies and same for the men at the national level.
Mais pour la zone, on pense être cette année première.
They might be relatively new to the game, but these players are hoping to be the future of Togolese volleyball. Maria Galang, CCTV.
All right, let's go to a quick breather now here on Match Point, but coming up after the break. Strength of a Woman, we bring you the story of PERCY Mukoko, the Kenyan female central rugby referee, taking on the men's game. Welcome back. Now, female sports has grown in stature over the years. However, female officiating of top-level matches in certain sports like rugby and football is quite rare. Many a times in the past, women could possibly have been accused of low numbers in officiating or even coaching games that they've played. For PERCY Mukoko, however, officiating offered her a means to remain in the sport after she realized that she could not develop her rugby career on the pitch. Today, she is among very few center referees in Kenya, and she is also the first female IRB educator in the country. She spoke to CCTV about finding her way in a male-dominated sport.
My name is PERCY Mukoko. I'm a rugby referee and also an IRB match official educator. I got involved in rugby from 2005 at St. Mary's School, where we started the first women's team in 2005. Playing was a bit time-bound, and at the same time with studies, it wasn't able to actually balance out. So that's when I decided to just stick into to see how officiating can actually go from there. The first time I actually got into rugby, I remember my parents asked me why not netball, why not volleyball, and I think based on that and showing them that it's a sport and everything is more or less similar, they now encourage me. The challenges that were there is, of course, it's a male-dominated sport, so that's one thing that you have to look at. Then I looked at it as an opportunity to actually work twice as hard. Yeah, so it was more of an opportunity as well as a challenge. Yeah. The transition wasn't that easy, but based on a few guidelines like mentorship from John Kagagi, who's an educator and a former referee, and I look at Paul Odera, who actually coached me at St. Mary's. It was more of an eye-opener because through each and every step along the way, the people would actually just echo in your ears that you can actually do it. My first Kenya Cup game, whereby the men were actually, it was Kenya Harlequins Black Blood, and they're actually twice as big, and it was a bit interesting because it was a new feel, and during the briefing the captain would just tell me that it's okay, we're here, and also when we were down in South Africa doing the hostel games, because South Africans are quite huge as well, you'd get to actually understand. Because remember, there has to be the player and referee relationship, or based on the player and the captain and the referee relationship. It's all about presence on the pitch, just being at the right place at the right time. So regardless of whether I may be soft-spoken and it's my nature, but it's a matter of presence on the pitch, so that means I actually work extra hard to get there and at the same time to communicate. As a referee, you call what you see, so based on certain situations, we're all human, so based on the current situation on the pitch, in a game situation, if you see something and you call it, you simply call it, because you have a split second to actually make a decision. Currently we're about 4 female referees, and with my IRB educator, one of my goals is actually to get more women involved in match officiating. So that's something that I am looking at driving towards, and getting more women to actually take up refereeing. If I'm to look at it in terms of sports, rugby is basically a hobby. I look at it as a hobby, and it's through that hobby it's actually passion driven. So over the weekend at least I'm able to officiate the games, and normally from Monday to Friday I'm engaged elsewhere, and then I'm also pursuing my masters, so it's at least it's a good way to actually balance out a lot of things.
Right now, just before we wrap things up here, let's bring you something different. The Matchpoint Top 5, and this week it's all about South Africa's Springboks ahead of their test tomorrow against world number 1 New Zealand's All Blacks. Here is a list of the Boks' most capped players. At number 5 is centre Jean de Villiers with 101 appearances. At number 4, it's a tie between legendary fullback Percy Montgomery and winger BRYAN HABANA with 102 games. HABANA will, however, surpass him as he is due to start tomorrow. At number 2, it's hooker John William Smith with 111 caps prior to start in tomorrow's game. He also holds the world record for most capped captain in major international test matches. And the number 1 most capped Springboks player, who also holds world record with Bakkies Botha for most tests as a lock combination in the starting lineup, is Victor Matfield with 116 caps. Well, that's it for this edition of Matchpoint. Remember, you can send your feedback to us via email. Matchpoint@cctv.com is the address. You can also visit our Facebook page, CCTV Africa, or stay in touch on Twitter using the handle @CCTV News Africa. Thanks for watching. My name is Mahe Mutwa. We leave you now with the images from the sporting highlights this past week.